Good afternoon and welcome. My name is Raymond Skinner and I'm Chairman of the Board of Commissioners for the DC Housing Authority, and I call this meeting to order. This is the regular monthly meeting of the District of Columbia Housing Authority being held today, June 10th, 2026. This meeting is being held via Zoom video conferencing and the board is here in person. The time is 1:03 p.m. At this point, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence to allow for personal reflection. Thank you. So today we've invited members of the public to sign up to speak via our website, or those who would just like to view the meeting can do so via the DCHA website linked to Facebook Live. The Board of Commissioners welcomes input on matters of public concern and offers the public today the opportunity to provide public testimony during that portion of this meeting. However, we do require that members of the public who attend our meetings abide by certain rules of decorum to allow the board to complete its business. For this virtual meeting, DCHA asks that you remain muted until you are instructed to speak. Anyone who violates these rules can be removed from this virtual meeting. Serious or repeated violations of the rules may result in your being barred from speaking at future board meetings. However, we do appreciate your interest in the business before us today, and I want to thank you in advance for abiding by these rules of conduct. So, as we've said the last couple of months, we are continuing the implementation of changes to the board that are required by the law that was passed last December, as you may recall, called the Rental Act. And that law requires that there be 2 resident commissioners that are elected to the board. So I'm pleased today to report that the first election has been completed, and we have a new resident board member, Ms. Rhonda Hamilton. She's the resident council president at Sci-Fac Gardens, and she will assume the position today, but first she has to be sworn in. So at this time, I'm going to ask our Deputy General Counsel, Andrea Powell, to swear Ms. Hamilton in. So Commissioner Clay also needs to be sworn in, but before he can be sworn in, after his reappointment, he has to first be sworn in by MODA, the mayor's office. So once he does that, then he'll be sworn in by the Housing Authority. So hopefully that will happen next month. But at this time, I'm going to ask Ms. Powell to swear in Ms. Hamilton.
Okay, Ms. Hamilton, I'm going to read the oath and you can repeat after me. If you raise your right hand and we'll swear you in. I, Rhonda Hamilton, do solemnly swear.
I, Rhonda Hamilton, do solemnly swear
that in my capacity as a member of the District of Columbia Housing Authority Board of Commissioners.
That in my capacity as a member of
Board of Commissioners.
The Board of Commissioners for the DC Housing Authority.
I will faithfully execute the applicable laws of the United States and the District of Columbia.
I will faithfully execute the applicable laws of the United States of America and the District of Columbia.
And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect.
And will, to the best of my ability, preserve, protect.
And defend the Constitution.
And defend the Constitution.
And will faithfully discharge the duties of the office.
And will faithfully discharge the duties of the office.
I swear that I meet the following requirements of the DCHA Act. I am a resident of the District of Columbia.
I am a resident of the District of Columbia.
I am not an employee of the federal or district government or DCHA.
I am not an employee of the federal government or DCHA.
Or the district.
Or the district of government.
I do not serve on any other district board or commission.
I do not serve on any other district board or commissioner.
Other than an ANC.
Other than an ANC.
I do not have a spouse, domestic partner, parent, or child that is the head of a district department or agency.
I do not have a spouse or domestic partner, parent, or child that is the head of the district department or agency.
Or a DCHA employee or an elected official.
Or a DCHA employee or an elected official.
I have disclosed my involvement.
I've disclosed my involvement
on any private board.
On any private board.
Commission.
Commission
or advisory group that may interact with DCHA.
or advisory group that may interact with DCHA.
I will abide by the DCHA standards of conduct.
I will abide by the DCHA standards of conduct.
I understand as a member of the board, I am obligated under federal and district law
I understand that as a member of the board, that I am obligated under federal and district law
to avoid real and apparent conflicts of interest
To-
and nepotism.
to avoid real and apparent conflicts of interest and nepotism.
I understand I'm required to file an affidavit of financial disclosure within 30 days of my appointment.
I understand that I'm required to file an affidavit of financial disclosure within 30 days of my appointment with the DC Housing Authority General Counsel,
And to update it annually and if my circumstances change.
and to update it annually and if my circumstances change.
I understand I'm required to file a financial disclosure with the Board of Ethics in Government.
I understand that I'm required to file a financial disclosure statement with the Board on Ethics in Government, Vega.
I will not solicit or accept any gift, payment, or other item of more than nominal monetary value
I would not solicit or accept any gift, payment, or any other item of more than nominal monetary value
from any person or entity seeking official action
from any person or entity seeking official action
from doing business with or conducting activities regulated by DCHA.
from doing business with or conducting activities regulated by DCHA.
I understand I must complete required training ongoing as a part of my membership of the board.
I understand I must complete required ongoing training as a part of my membership on the DCHA Board of Commissioners.
You're official.
Would you like to say anything? And I understand you have a couple guests that you want to introduce who came here to see you sworn in. Right?
Yes. First of all, I just want to say, I'm so grateful, for all of the residents that supported me to allow me to get here, and that has been so faithfully in helping and supporting the communities, because I know it's been a lot going on. So I'm very grateful to be able to represent them and to be one of their voices for the things that they're concerned with and need help and assistance with. I'm also grateful to be a part of this commission and looking forward to working with everyone. Although I see some familiar faces, some folks that I've worked with already. I'm also thankful to be joined here by my big sister, LaShawn Hamilton, my pastor, Reverend Dr. Kevin T. Hart from Christian Tabernacle, and my wonderful church member, Miss Barbara, who came on here to support me. I'm very grateful for them as well.
Well, thank you and welcome. We all look forward to working with you. Very much. So I also want to publicly thank former Commissioner Rosa Burbridge, who served as the resident commissioner for the last, I think she was actually three years. So again, Commissioner Burbridge, thank you for your work, and thank you for your contributions to DCHA over these last couple of years. And as I mentioned, that we will have two resident leaders who are elected by other residents for the board. So Ms. Hamilton is the first one, and I'm looking at Nicole in terms of when will the election for the second commissioner be scheduled? It hasn't been scheduled yet.
No, we're gonna be there.
Scheduled for
By the end of the,
there you go.
by the end of the calendar.
By the end of the calendar year. Okay, so we should have another resident commissioner by that time. Okay, so now that that's done, at this time, I'm going to ask for a roll call vote to determine if we have a quorum.
Sure.
Denise Blackson. Here. Thank you. Rhonda Hamilton.
Here.
Thank you. Leroy Clay.
Here.
Thank you. Chris Murphy.
Present.
Thank you. Jennifer Reed. Teresa Silla.
Present.
Raymond Skinner.
Here.
You have a point.
So that was your first official action. Okay. So at this time, I'd like the commissioners to consider the minutes of the May 13th, 2026 board meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion.
Second,
Second.
all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, let the minutes stand approved as read. Next, we'll have the executive director's report.
Thank you, Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. Nicole Wycliffe, Interim Executive Director. Welcome. I almost said Rhonda, but so for many years, since I've been here, you've been great, and we've talked through at side facts, and you reach out all the time. So welcome, Commissioner Hamilton, and thank you to Commissioner or former Commissioner Burbridge. I'm not sure if she's on, so thank you as well. Also, thank you everyone tuning in and around the table. So we've been juggling a lot. So less than 60 days now in the interim role, but over 2 years here with the agency, first in the deputy and now the interim ED role. As many, we are all dealing with challenges in the budgets and funding constraints. So the team has been working very hard. We have received our final budget for fiscal year 26, actually from HUD. And so with that, we know we have to do some reprogramming. As we've talked about many months, we do our budget in probably about 6 months prior to getting the decision from HUD. So we do ours, start of our fiscal year is October, so we got ours approved last September. So now the team is working again together to just figure out any where we have to reposition or repurpose dollars. Let's see what else. Also, we're working closely, so thank you to the mayor and council members on the local budgets. We are looking to hopefully see an increase in security deposit funding on the local side. So the council and the mayor heard each testimony, and it's looking like it's proposed that we'll have some additional security deposit funding on the local side. In addition, additional local vouchers as well. On our federal side, program for housing choice voucher, we are oversubscribed at this time. We keep going between 103, 102% right now. So again, what that definitely means is the funding that we receive from HUD on federal vouchers, we have exceeded that. So generally, every year HUD does give the Housing Authority between a 5 to 12% increase on funding. And again, as I just stated, DCHA and many other housing authorities did not receive the increases. And I've talked to a few other groups and individuals, and just to put that in perspective, level funding for DCHA means that the funding that we're getting from HUD is actually from fiscal year 24, or calendar year, 24 from HUD. So what that means at the end of calendar year 24, on the voucher side, the utilization rate may have been about 87%. So if you think about that, we're at 104, 103, so we keep teetering a little bit there. That's the delta of the funding that we're not receiving when we're getting level funding from actually calendar year 25. So again, our funding is coming from our activity of calendar year 24, unfortunately. HUD has put out some recent notices, so hopefully in those notices, it'll allow the Housing Authority opportunity to apply or present to them our shortfalls on any HAP subsidy. We're also looking at different cost-saving measures that HUD has put out in a notice to ensure that we keep families housed. The number one goal of the Housing Authority, and I believe from HUD and reading their notices, is to keep, if you're housed now, to keep you housed. And that's our goal, and that's what we're all pushing toward. On our public housing side of the house, again, that's federally funded. So that again comes from the budgets that we're receiving in that fiscal year 24 funding. We are also looking at expenses and have been for many months. I've come back many months and talked about this again in November or December of 25. We got a notice that possibly, we would not receive the increase, and the final notice came out just in the end of May or June that we wouldn't. So the team has always proactive in that approach and already looking at cost saving measures. How can we reduce in certain areas? So we've really been doing that, and we've definitely made an impact there, but we definitely still have a ways to go for the amount of funding we didn't receive for all the hard work that the agency did of leasing up vouchers, bringing units back online to be able to house more families. And that leads me into our current occupancy numbers and rates on the public housing side. At the time right now, it appears like our public housing occupancy is decreasing. However, as many know, we are repositioning and rehabilitating many properties coming soon as we close on our bonds and any of our RAD projects. So what that means is the units, we can't do the work with individuals in the units. So as the units become vacant, we are holding those vacants, number one, at properties to make the construction be a rolling, move seamlessly and a little quicker. But number two, we have to ensure we have sufficient units for our families already housed. So we know, again, we cannot do a majority of this, or actually probably all of this work with tenant in place. So we will be moving around. So the reason why we are holding many units right now is because we need to, number one, prioritize our families that are already living in our housing. We will see the uptick in our occupancy once these units come out of construction and once we walk any other units to see if we have dollars to bring others, back online as well. So that is a work in progress, and that number will increase, but right now we're going through the times that we have to have them offline so that we can rehab them quickly to move our existing residents into those and then open up for new opportunities as well. Also, I'm very excited. Last week, many of us attended the Berry Farms redevelopment of Hillsbury Flats. So that was the groundbreaking. Thank you to our speakers. So we had Deputy Mayor Albert spoke, our council member Ward 8, Trayon White spoke, I spoke, and of course our development partner POA spoke. So Hillsdale Flats will bring back 90 units. All of the phases are exciting, but this phase right here is a phase that is bringing back up to 5-bedroom units. We've heard many individuals say you bring back 1s and 2s, what about our larger? So this is that phase that you will see 4 bedrooms, 5-bedroom units coming back online. In addition, 31 of the units will be subsidized units, replacement units that will be coming online. So as the Berry Farm redevelopment itself, Asbury was the first building that came online in 2024 with 108 total units. Edmondson is due to come online at the end of 2026 this year with 139 units. And Hillsdale Flats is the one we did the groundbreaking last week. That is, again, 90 units, and that is set to deliver next year. So it's Berry Farms, that whole redevelopment, I understand, took a very long time, but now the momentum is there. Every year since 24, a building has come online, which is great. with also deeply subsidized units, replacement units. One of our speakers, if you commissioners joined us and former commissioners were there, so thank you as well, Commissioner Seelan, Commissioner Blackson, and former Commissioner Jones. It was great, but also to hear from one of the Berry Farms residents, Mr. Powell. Some people know him as Binko from the Junkyard Band, but he spoke, and I mean, he talked about living there, being displaced, but he also talked about he gained employment, a Section 3 employment out of this redevelopment. So this is truly what these developments are about, right? When we are displacing families, that's not, no one wants to, but at the end, when you see new units, modernized, high-end, affordable housing developments coming back online and also creating jobs. So just really quickly, from one of the press release, the whole Berry Farms redevelopment thus far has created 2,068 construction jobs. In addition, over 60 CBEs, Certified Business Enterprises, were hired delivering design, construction, and other services. So again, that's what it's all about in our redevelopment efforts at the different communities. Now prayer is they don't take that long, right? But again, with the funding and the market conditions, it's very challenging. And that's where I commend the team and our development partners and constructions, because this does take a lot behind the scenes to make these projects really come to fruition. So when people are saying, oh, you've been coming to us year after year, we get it. I completely understand the frustration, but please know it's not because we don't want to get there. There's many areas out of our control that we have to continue to pivot. We plan for these projects so far in advance. So by the time we really get there to deliver, cost has changed, the market has changed, and now we're trying to figure how can we fund. So that now leads us over to city funding. So we're grateful for all the city funds that the Housing Authority receives for capital improvements. We are working on right now redistributing those funds. As we hear, it's not yet approved yet, but the council is proposing redistribution of some of our DC capital funds of about 56.2 million. So that'll mean future years within 27 to 29. So us as a housing authority, again, we have to now go look at the projects, reprioritize, see if anything is already in the pipeline, how that affects. So we'll be working on that over the next month or so to also reprioritize and redistribute as well for that. Let's see what else I have. We kicked off our Rebuilding Communities last Saturday at Kenilworth. So that's our summer event. So our efforts continue year round, but our summer events, it kicked off last week, and that was great. Councilmember Felder joined us, staff, and many of the residents. So thank you again. Just a few things before I wrap up. We have concluded our work on the fiscal year 25 financial audit. So we're waiting for that to be released from DCOIG. So once that is released, we can share the results of that. Also, I'm excited to talk about some technology enhancements to our Yardi system. The team took me through a tutorial last week. I met with some of the Yardi staff there, and we're excited about many of the changes that are coming, transparency, dashboards, just a lot of the things that we've heard. Yardi must have heard it as well, because they have an upgrade that they're showing us. It's not live yet, so as we know the timeline, we'll be sure to let everyone know our timeline as well. So I'll open it up for any questions, comments.
Questions from the board, from the commission?
I have just one question about occupancy. Director, do you think, help manage our expectations? Is that number going to continue to drop and we should be aware of that? Or do we want to try to kind of hold where we are now?
Yes.
Like, where are we headed?
So my goal is to hold around 5,000 units occupied. I can't guarantee that. So I do anticipate it may drop some, because as the units of the first tranche properties, as those become vacant, we're gonna hold those. So, and we know that at this time, most of our moves are just transfers. So it's gonna be a wash there. So a slight decrease and then a ramp up as these units are completed.
Okay.
Mhm.
And obviously the reason I'm asking, just to state the obvious, is they are so precious,
Yes.
and I know we want to maximize their
Mhm.
use. And as the IRB renovation projects kind of come into focus, I was just talking to Commissioner Hamilton
Mhm.
about, whether there may be some opportunities to sort of have residents stay in place in some of the parts of the properties that aren't being renovated. So as that comes into focus, it would be ideal if we could start maybe releasing the holds on some of those units.
Yes.
But I understand that will take a little bit of time, but
Right.
I just don't want us to be holding units in perpetuity, because they could just be put to such good use.
I agree. And that we're working out a plan there because we've got many uses, right? We've got to open up
Yeah.
the wait.
Yeah. Right.
So
Chomping at
we
the
are
bit.
managing all the expectations, trust
Yeah.
me, and we're here to house individuals. So us holding these units offline, it's unfortunate. Due to the budget constraints, we can't bring more units back online. So we're also looking at that.
Yeah.
What can we do in-house? Where can we free up some dollars to now put toward renovating units outside of the first tranche of property? So we're exploring all of that.
And I just do want to highlight
Mhm.
the fact that the wait list is down to 337 people is extraordinary. And I just think we need to be continuing to say that.
Yes.
This, a lot of us have been around town a long time and we're used to hearing that, but the waiting list is 10,000 people
Right.
long. It is not 10,000 people long anymore. It is 337. And that is a
Mhm.
real testament to some of the progress that is being made.
So thank you for the PMO team as well.
And thank you for setting up a segue so that I can talk about my favorite topic. Yes, thank you, thank you. I think this is Commissioner Silla. My day job, my full-time job is Director of the Interagency Council on Homelessness, responsible for governance and strategic planning for services continuum of care in the district. And I am very grateful and really looking forward to when we can open the public housing waitlist, when some of these units can come online. Just, my community is chomping at the bits. We are working on an action plan that says we need to give our agencies a little bit of time to let the dust settle on the budget conversations, but we do need the Housing Authority at the table and orienting the homeless services continuum of care on what we can expect, how we can work together around the wait lists, the homeless preference, what's reasonable to expect, just so we know and have like some transparency around that. And so if we're barking up the wrong tree in terms of the number of units that we can get in the future, that'll help level set expectations as well. So grateful that the director and PMO Carolyn, that we will, that we discussed and are talking towards what is it that we can bring to the community in August? What is it that we can uplift in September so that folks have a sense of what they're walking into the next fiscal year reasonably expecting. And I'm greatly appreciative that Daniel is in the room as well as someone who's, going to be responsible for bringing units online with whatever funding's available. So just really, yes, really grateful for just the support and the rallying and the understanding that and the transparency that you have offered us in terms of just working through these details. So thank you.
Any other questions for the interim executive director, Commissioner Blacks?
Blacks. Yes. I just wanted to say that is often a question that is asked about when will the wait list open up. So we get that every time we out at events or wherever I'm at, I hear that question, just to piggyback on what Commissioner Silla said. But I just wanted to share and weigh in on the groundbreaking at the Hillsdale Flats. I really enjoyed the tour. Me and Commissioner Silla took the tour of the site, and oftentimes we hear residents' concerns about the size of the units, the square footage, but we had the opportunity to view our two-bedroom ADA unit, and that was really a large unit. I was really excited to see that unit and how spacious it was and the actual layout. It's spacious throughout. So I just want to give a shout out to that and glad to hear about the 4 and 5 bedroom units that will come online at the Berry Farm site. And I also had the opportunity to attend the Rebuilding Our Communities event this weekend. Great job, Andre. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions? So let me just say that I just want to thank you, interim executive director Wycliffe. It's been about 60 days, you said. So a lot is happening. I know you've been running at 100 miles an hour over these last 2 months. And again, I just want to thank you for the work that you're doing, and we really appreciate you and what you've done so far.
Right.
Okay, so the next item on our agenda is public testimony. So at this time, we can have public testimony starting with resident testimony. And you can testify, bring up any topics or concerns that you have at this point, and each person will have 3 minutes to provide their testimony. And we will start again with residents.
Sure. Our first resident is Nashanta Washington. And as a
Yes, I'm
reminder,
here.
oh, perfect, you're on. You have 3 minutes, Miss Washington.
Okay. Hi, good afternoon. I'm speaking today because I have not received my utility allowance for 7 months. This unjustified delay has directly impacted my ability to pay my utility bills. During this time, I have received conflicting information directly from my specialist, Mr. Cameron Isaac. First, I was told by Mr. Isaac that the issue was resolved in February and my payments would resume in March. They did not. And recently, I was told my payments were being withheld due to a repayment balance. However, I have never received the legally required written notice or official documentation to support my utility allowance being withheld. Furthermore, if my money was being withheld for a balance, it is not actually being applied to the balance. My ledger shows my balance only goes down when I make a payment out of my own pocket. In the past, I've always paid my back pay while still receiving my utility allowance. Most recently, I was told that this matter is under review and that I would get an email with a resolution by the end of this week. While I appreciate that the review is finally happening, 7 months without essential benefits is unacceptable. So today I'm asking for 2 things: official ledger showing exactly where my missing allowance money went, and also a definite date for my payments to resume. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Washington. Of course, we don't have the information right here in this meeting, but we will have staff follow up with you, if not today, by tomorrow, and give you the information that you're seeking.
Thank you.
So next we have former Commissioner Aquarius Van Gossary. And I see that we sent you a promotion request. If you can accept and *6 so you can begin your 3-minute testimony. Former Commissioner Aquarius Van Gossary. She raised her hand. Let's see if we can help. We're going to send you a promotion request again.
Star six.
And remember, it's *6 to unmute yourself if you're having difficulty speaking. Former Commissioner, I'm going to circle back to you. I'm going to have someone contact you so they can help you, and then we'll come back and I'll call you again. Moving forward, it's going to be Katrina Jenkins. Katrina Jenkins. I don't see her listed. Moving forward, former Commissioner Kenneth Council. We're sending you a promotion request. Please accept *6 to unmute yourself. We see that you're a panelist now, so you can begin your 3-minute testimony.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, Mr. Council.
I'm trying to speak on Resolution 26-16 regarding TJ Realtor. Did the Operation Committee check the COTAR to see if TJ Realtor has provided services or contracted to deliver? 2, I'm asking this because, if I'm not mistaken, TJ Realtor has been around for years with DCHA. And I recall that DCHA has had issues with that contractor for overbilling under delivery. Who is the COTAR for the contractor? You don't need to answer me right now, but I strongly advise you, before you make the decision today to take a vote, that you should check to ensure that DCHA is not spending unnecessary funds, especially after our interim directors continue to remind us how we're low on funds. How long has DCHA been contracting with TJ Realtor? Again, we should slow and show some sort of competitive process on here. Hold on, where's my other paper? Hold on 1 second. 1 second, 1 second. Okay. Where's the competitive process? DCHA is asking for an additional $88,000 on top of the $135,000 while complaining that the funds are low. Help me make that make sense. The staff complains that they cannot get staff because the budget is cut and that we have funds modified contractors by asking for more funds. DCHA should be able to provide the TJ Realtor pass invoices and statements to work the modification necessary, or even if it's legal. Issues that is brought to my attention that David Cardiala has a civil regulatory fine of $170,000 in Massachusetts, taking the amount of money from a nonprofit organization without the board approval. Did DCHA obtain the records of integrity and business ethics? Did DCHA disclose the information to the board or to HUD prior to him coming to DCHA to the role that involves overseeing managing millions of capital funding? You all placed the compliance leader on leave while you have this activity going on. Help me make sense to that. Even if you try to disclose it now, HUD, the question is, was it enclosed before Pettigrew brought Cardiala into DCHA? Last month at the board commissioners meeting, it was Resolution 2614 that I spoke on about mode, and Commissioner Silla said that I was contradicting myself, which I wasn't. I gave kudos to every agency that did something. I was asking questions. Why were we getting ready to hire so many? So could that record be corrected, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Council.
Next, we have Markeisha Miller. Markeisha Miller. Next, we have Terry Ackler. Terry Acker. Next, we have Shalantia Doe. We're sending your promotion request, Ms. Doe. Star 6 to unmute yourself so you can begin your 3-minute testimony.
Dial, can you hear me?
Thank you.
Yes. So good afternoon. My name is Shalantia Dow, and today I want to comment on the search for the executive director. I saw that there was a current RFP available and hiring a firm to search for the executive director. So I had a question. Is the current interim director being considered? If not, kind of why not? I don't know her personally, but my brief interactions with her when I had to escalate concerns, she was very effective, responsive, knowledgeable in the board meetings that I have attended as well. And if that firm could find a way to kind of engage the residents and the staff in this search, I think that'd be helpful as well. The second thing is in that search, I think the search should be more for the deputy director. Again, I'm putting in my hat of just giving her kudos of how she has seamlessly transitioned into the interim role of being effective. The search should be kind of tailored more towards finding a deputy director. So, it's a lot of turnover in that position. So we can do it as we've done. And lastly, I saw that the block parties have begun again. So Kenilworth just had their first one. I love the block parties and that initiative and providing the resources. And if we could do one at a central location for the HCVP participants, because when you come out of the public housing, then you don't have a community. So it's kind of like we're kind of scattered all around. So that same way to kind of increase engagement and also, get resources as well. And that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Dow. So just an update on the search for a new executive director. As you indicated, an RFP was released. The RFP is closed. We've gotten 5 responses, and we have a board search committee that will be reviewing the responses from the firms that submitted. We'll select a firm, and then that firm will go out and sort of test the market and look for appropriate candidates who could apply for the position. And Ms. Wycliffe, the interim, is eligible to apply. And from everything she said to me, she will apply at the appropriate time. So that process will continue. And hopefully can be concluded within, I'd say, 60 days or so.
Okay. It sounds good. And is there a way that, moving forward and in this one, that the firm can engage the residents and
Yes,
staff in that search?
Yeah, one of the requirements in the RFP and one of the tasks for the firm selected is to engage with, I think we called it constituents, and that would include residents, advocacy groups, the council, and so forth.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So I'm gonna circle back to former Commissioner Aquarius Van Gossary. Former Commissioner Aquarius Van Gossary.
See, she's not on it.
Okay, gonna move forward. Next, we have Patricia Malloy. Ms. Malloy, we've sent you a promotion request. If you can accept. Start to unmute yourself. There you go.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
You can.
Yes, we can hear you. Hi, Ms. Malloy.
How are you? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Patricia Malloy. Before I start my testimony, I would like to thank IT for getting the phones up and running in Lincoln Heights. I received a call last month after the Board of Commissioners meeting saying someone would look into it. That Friday, the phones were up and running and in service. I'm speaking on the Moving to Work plan. The new board focused on members with expertise in different aspects of affordable housing, finance, and operations. The Reconstruction Board retains representatives in public housing, voucher program, and now include the president of the Citywide Advisory Board. And I read this in the update website on April the 20th, 2026. My question is, when will the president of the Citywide Advisory Board be sitting around the table at the Board of Commissioner meetings? I would also like to thank Commissioner Hamilton for winning the election for the public housing residents. I also would like to invite Ms. Hamilton to Lincoln Heights. Due to the fact Lincoln Heights have no representation, I am still representing them as an advisor in some type of capacity. I am a voucher holder. My question is, who is the rep for the voucher program? Reason I'm asking is because Daniel would empower DC, have meetings monthly with Mr. Shaw, along with voucher holders and potential voucher holders. We have a lot of issues and concerns. And I want to thank Nicole Whitcliffe, our director, for attending those meetings with Mr. Shaw and with the residents in Daniel. And I think it's very important that we as voucher holders can receive some of the same events, like the residents said before me, that we could have a informal or formal meeting to give us input and ideas on different programs that can help us, especially in paying utilities, water, gas, or whatever it might be. And I just want to say thank you, Nicole. You're doing a wonderful job as interim. And I look forward to working with you as well as the residents of Lincoln Heights. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Malloy. So just to clarify, when the new legislation that went into effect, as I mentioned in December, changes the relationship so that there are two resident commissioners who are elected. So that means that, formerly it was the head of the Citywide Advisory Board who was a commissioner. So that is no longer the case. But we are working to set up a regular schedule so that the board can meet with the citywide advisory group on a regular basis. Go, sure, I'm sorry.
So is there any reason why the president can't sit in on meetings? Like,
Sit in on the meetings?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, no, he's the hero. Yeah, he's sitting in on the meeting. Yeah, he can attend the meetings, and as you know, and we'll formally announce later, we're going to be taking our show on the road, so we'll be going out to different developments and having meetings, and they're open to the public, so anyone can attend.
And I'll just add with the citywide, Mr. Council or former Commissioner Council and others, we are meeting on a monthly cadence now. So we met last week and we'll continue that.
Next, we have Angelia Scott. Angelia Scott. Moving forward, next we have Donna Towns. Donna Towns, we're sending you a promotion request. Star 6 to unmute yourself so that you can begin your 3-minute testimony.
So Donovan declined.
Okay, we see that you declined. Now we're going to move to our non-resident. We have Hassan Gaeta.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
First, thank you for the opportunity to speak at this Board of Commissioners meeting. And I would like to start by congratulating Ms. Wycliffe for her new position as the Interim Executive Director, and I'm looking forward to her leadership. As a housing provider, partnering with this voucher program for over 2 decades, I have experienced many improvements and setbacks with this program. And today I would like to briefly mention 3 areas of concerns or potential that needs potential improvements. The first one is more transparency. For example, publishing the HQS guidelines, on Rent Cafe portal, or communicate them with both housing providers and with tenants. So both of these parties will know their roles and responsibilities, especially when it comes to maintenance, like property maintenance. It's very important because now a lot of housing providers are not very clear on when they receive violations from inspections. They're not very clear on what's the responsibility. So it will be great if we will be able to know about the violations ahead of time. The second area of concern is better communications. Whether it is something with like electronic or the old traditional way, whether it's via email, portal, or regular phone call or mail. Typically, the best way we found more efficient is the electronic communications that will help us be able to be aware of all the notices, especially when it comes to inspections. I also would like to ask for the inspections to include also notices for complaint inspections. And the last area of concern is the responsiveness. Also, it will be great if the service level agreements or commitments are published on the Rent Cafe portal. For example, respond within 24 business hours to urgent matters and or 48 hours for non-urgent matters, just for us to know when to expect a response for our inquiries or concerns. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have, I believe it's Sherry Ocha.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me well?
We can.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Cherry Okocha. I am a district homeowner, wife, mom, mother of 2 children, ages 5 and 7, and also a former public servant. I also grew up in a family that relied on public assistance programs during parts of my childhood. So I think it's important to incorporate that. I understand firsthand the opportunities these programs bring, particularly the positive impact it can make on families in need. I was one of those families. But I do come here today because I want to offer some information that may somewhat be unpopular. But for 8 years, my family lived in a home next door to a DCHA assisted unit. And for more than a year, we documented concerns regarding an apparent unauthorized occupant, reoccurring marijuana smoke infiltrating into our home, and ongoing nuisance-related activity. And the marijuana smoke frequently infiltrated our home through a shared wall. And it was the heaviest impact was in our 5-year-old daughter's bedroom. And we did everything residents were told to do. We maintained logs, we submitted videos, photographs, witness statements, and other evidence. We cooperated fully with DCHA's investigation, and we spent more than a year working through the process. We were looking for relief. And despite the evidence provided and the time invested in with all the parties, the issues continued. And ultimately, my family had to make a heartbreaking decision to leave our home that we were in for 8 years. And so my purpose is straightforward. I'm seeking a better understanding of how the final decision in our particular matter was reached. My family, we followed the process and we provided evidence, and ultimately we had to leave our home. So housing assistance, it's a valuable and limited resource. And residents, they should have confidence that occupancy requirements, leasing obligations, and program rules are enforced consistently and fairly. And so for more than a year, my family observed we observed a Maryland resident living and benefiting from a DCHA assistant unit, despite repeated reports and documented concerns. And so finally, someone from the mayor's office recently visited our home to better understand the circumstances around the matter, which enforced our belief that these concerns warranted further review. And so I recognize that my experience is, not a representative of DCHA as a whole. However, I believe that outcome in this case deserves attention. And so a family that followed the process, provided evidence, and ultimately left their home, I do respectfully ask the board to look into this issue further. Sorry for going over time, and thank you for your time and consideration. Over.
Thank you, Ms. Okocha. So we will definitely have someone look into this matter. Yeah, it sounds very unusual.
And I would just like to add, I'm not sure of this situation, so we definitely will reach out to you and understand it. But just as clarity, I think, which sometimes is difficult. So for the housing authority, if it's a voucher client, the housing authority can't enforce the lease, unfortunately. The owner or the landlord needs to enforce the lease. we do need to do a better job of the two parties collaborating in some cases, but I just wanted just to add that out. So generally, when the complaints or the items come into the housing authority, for us, it's more with the voucher participant to ensure that they're following the voucher rules. And an unauthorized occupant, that definitely is a violation. So we'll look in. So in the event of something like that, our team looks into that. Although it may be stopping of the voucher, that does not remove the family from the household. And that is a matter from the lease and between the landlord or owner and the tenant. So I just wanted to put that out there because I know that a lot of times there's confusions if it's a voucher participant in a household. They expect the DCHA can remove. We cannot, we're not in the lease position, we're in the voucher and subsidy position. And I'll definitely reach out to you on this matter.
Next, we have Melody Cooper. Ms. Cooper, I see you are a panelist now. Star 6 to unmute so you can begin your 3-minute testimony.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can.
Yes, we can.
Hi, I am in my final stage of like leasing up and I'm supposed to be moving in today. However, the HAP contract had the wrong dates on it and the property manager at the new location submitted it to the portal. And all I'm basically waiting for it to be, I guess, looked at, signed, and then sent back before I can move in today.
We'll get it.
Okay.
It's been sent. It's been sent.
Okay.
Ms. Cooper, we're hearing from Mr. Shaw that it's been sent. So we'll circle back with you.
Okay, thank you.
Next, we have Margaret English. Margaret English. Okay, we're gonna move forward. Next, we have Daniel Del Peliego. Daniel, we've added you as a panelist. Star 6 so you can begin your testimony. You're muted. There you go.
Good afternoon. Sorry, I was telling my kids to mute the TV. They're home on summer vacation. My apologies. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Daniel Del Peliego. I work with Empower DC. I wanted to first congratulate Rhonda Hamilton, great addition, a stalwart leader in her community, not only on her property, but in public housing in general. So congratulations to Rhonda Hamilton. I wanted to just briefly, and I think some of these issues have been resolved, but I did want to put on the radar that we have been working with some of the properties participating or slated for the IRB renovation. And I've noticed a couple of things of concern, noted several things of concern with Nick's development. For example, recently, about a month ago, there was a flyer put out on several properties, James Creek, Lincoln Heights. The one specifically that I got a copy from James Creek talks about a relocation office hours, and it has date and time, but it does not have a location. It did not provide a location of where tenants could go for, this very important piece of getting folks relocated so the renovations can happen. So that caused a lot of confusion and dismay from several tenants that I heard from. Additionally, one of the phone numbers listed on there, which I personally called, was unlisted. It just, didn't lead to anything. I've also heard from several tenants that they have called the 202 number and have left a message and have not received a response. So once again, as you all well know, the issue, the matter of relocation causes a lot of distress for folks as they are being asked to pick up and change their life and their everyday activities. So when something goes out that says, "Hey, we want to talk to you about this," but then no response is given or there's no accurate information, and I want to send a thank you and a shout out to Ms. Miller, Sheila Miller, who did respond and provided some clarity, and I believe flyers were sent back out that DCHA put out, if I'm not mistaken, with more accurate information. But nonetheless, I'm hoping that this is something that can be looked at and addressed for any future events that are to take place. Because once again, folks are getting antsy, to say the least, around having to relocate and ensuring that they get the accommodations they need, they get the unit sizes that they need, and so on, and just in general, knowing more about what's to come. So thank you. And that's it for me today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we have William Jordan. There you go. Mr. Jordan, I
Good
see that you.
afternoon.
Yep, we can hear
Good
you
afternoon.
now.
All right. Good afternoon. It's William Jordan with the Park Morton Equity Team, and a community member. So I wanted to focus on a few things. One is just in general, the willingness to look at lessons learned. So I wanted to start with Park Morton Phase 2. Understand from the NTW that you're focused on the 17 replacement units, although phase 2, I think, includes close to 50 units. So when will residents or Ms. High or whoever is going to represent residents know more about what's happening with phase 2 of Park Morton? And then going back to phase 1, I sent around a thing to the email to the board and see that they're still trying to lease about a third of the units from a project that should have been leased up a year ago. But I can see from the unit types and et cetera that why there's probably difficulty in getting those units leased. So as I've always brought up, we're building units that don't match really what the need is because we're focused on unit production and not how those units impact people and meeting the needs of a new community site, which is greater than just building units, but it's building people. And, when are you going to get serious about lessons learned? That is my big problem, is that when you don't learn lessons learned, then you lower the bar, the standard to just meeting the minimum. And new communities is not one of those projects that's focused on the minimums. Moving to bond council. I guess that's the resolution. One, there should be some internships coming out of this kind of contract. So I would expect to see some young people or people who families being able to learn about this financing method, moving into this industry. It's not easy to break into the finance industry. And whenever the agency spends money like this, resident families should benefit in that way. Second, I know that IRB bonds are really flexible and you're using them for rehab, but they can be used for a lot of other things. And have you considered using them for economic development issues rather than just housing issues? Because again, unless resident income increase, you're creating a bunch of debt that will eventually fall back and hurt families. So you'll produce units, but that debt will crush the people who live in those units. So please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jordan.
Next we have, I want to say, I hope this is Krishana or Christina Harris. Krishana Harris. I'm going to circle back to former Commissioner Aquarius Van Gossary. We're sending you a promotion request. Please accept. And then *6 to unmute yourself. Okay. Sorry, former Commissioner Van Gossary, we couldn't get your testimony on the record today, but we'll circle back to you. Chairman, we have completed our public testimony for today.
Again, I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to be with us today and to provide testimony. This is really important for the board to hear what some of the concerns and issues are. So again, thank you for your testimony. Okay, next we're going to go on to committee reports. And we're going to start with the Committee on Operations and Administrative Services. And that will include a review of the 3 resolutions that we have on the agenda for today.
Yes. Thank you, everybody. Commissioner Teresa Silva wanted to introduce Resolution 2615 first, and I believe Jean will be leading the presentation on that. I want to, especially given the remarks from former Commissioner Kenneth Council, make sure the board and our attendees understand. When we touched base, we talked extensively about the scope of the work for the procurement. And making sure that we are articulating what is different or necessary in the extension and the second year, and also what due diligence has taken place to determine that there aren't opportunities for cost savings. And I think Jean, last time she talked, also highlighted for us the quality controls that are in place to ensure that if there is a current contract with the housing authority, that the team that is managing that scope of work is involved in and has an opportunity to provide feedback on the quality of their services, so that we are only continuing to extend our contracts and procurement to parties that have demonstrated that they are doing a good job. So I wanted to make sure we addressed some of the feedback that we heard and reassure former Commissioner Council that we are thinking very much along the same track and asking very much the same questions of Jean and her team. So thank you, Jean.
You're welcome. And good afternoon, Commissioners and Chair, and to the public. I will be presenting Resolution 2615 to authorize the increase of contract number 54/2025 with please correct me if I pronounce it wrong, Postinelli PC for Bond Advisor and Counsel Services. The purpose of this resolution is to authorize the interim executive director to approve a contract mod to increase contract capacity with Postinelli for Bond Advisor and Counsel Services in an additional amount not to exceed $219,000, increasing the total contract amount from $240,000 to $459,000. And of course, this is subject to the availability of funding. In the background, we provided all of the procurement information. I wanted to just go briefly over kind of some of the highlights on what we're asking for and change. So some of the key aspects of it is that we're asking for an additional $219,000, in addition to the original $240,000. There is a small change, slight in scope, in that change in scope. I'm sorry, on this one, I'm sorry, I'm presenting two. I got those confused. On this one, the change in scope is as is, and we've included that in a shared document, what I shared with Commissioner Silla. And then I think that's pretty much it from what the department is asking. I will open the floor for any questions and specifics to the procurement process. And I think the department is here to speak on scope if we needed to ask questions.
Yeah, I just want to clarify, if I may, just a couple things. One, I think there may be maybe a typo and maybe a question in the resolution. I just want to clarify. Several times we've talked about 219,000 is what's being asked for,
Yes.
and that's what you just said. There is at least one spot in the resolution where it refers to 240,000. And so just, it'd be helpful. You corrected it. Okay, great. Second question.
So I'm sorry, so the number is 219.
19.
Yes, for the ask. The
Right.
original contract amount is 240.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, exactly. The second thing is it refers to the additional funding being requested for calendar year 2026. And I think that probably is not correct. I think it's probably 12 months forward.
So what we did was, speaking with Gene and John Suttles, we just took, this is 219. So we're not limiting it to a calendar year. As you pointed out, we only have 6-7 months left.
Yes.
We just, after you talked to me, we made the change. So
Okay.
now
It'll roll forward beyond.
Yes.
Yeah, I assumed that was just a mistake. So that's great. And then just the very silly question, which is what's the source of the funding? Is this just a consultant line item budget? Or I didn't know if this was something we were gonna have to repay.
It will be paid at close.
It will be repaid at closing?
It'll be repaid at closing when each property closes.
Okay.
A portion will go.
Got it. Okay, that's great. Thank you. Those were my questions.
And I think on like this one, it's good to add to, at times when we're coming in and on some of these, and especially on bond and council, right? In negotiations, there's a lot of back and forth, so that increases when we feel we may have done the first phase of the work for a certain amount, when there's negotiation back and forth with the parties. So just to add, I know in this, there was several negotiation back and forth with the fee developers and others, so that increased not the scope, but the funds needed and remaining.
Are there any additional
Okay.
questions?
If there are no other questions, the chair will entertain a motion to approve resolution 26-15 to increase the contract number 52/2025 with Polsinelli PC.
Motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion or questions? Hearing none, we'll take a roll call vote on the motion.
Sure. Commissioner Blackson,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Murphy,
Yes.
thank you. Commissioner Hamilton,
Abstain.
Commissioner Silla,
Yes.
thank you. And Chairman Skinner,
Yes.
thank you.
Next resolution? Sorry.
Resolution is not approved. It does not move.
Oh, we do not have a.
We don't.
Okay, okay,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Who's not here?
We don't.
Reed, okay, so. Who don't, and that's right, Clay
And we
can't,
need a-
Clay cannot vote, right?
Yep.
Okay,
Okay.
so we have to bring that back. Okay,
Next.
all right, the next
resolution.
resolution,
2616, yep. This is another contracting opportunity that where there is an extension of services. There was, in this particular case, there was a jump in the dollars that were being approved, whereas in the last case, we saw that there was a reduction in the dollars, right? So we asked questions about, are we working on scaling back if that is appropriate? What are the notes that are necessary on that front to evaluate that, recognizing that given the tight timeline between the follow-up, that some of it might be a verbal update.
It was added into the final, I think we uploaded it on Monday in a very tight crunch, so it was updated.
And greatly appreciative for you doing that extra legwork at the very last minute. So really appreciative and turning it over to you to present.
Presenting resolution 2616 to authorize the execution of a modification of contract number 71-2025 for general consultant services, and this is for our capital construction and design department. The purpose of this resolution is to authorize the interim executive director to approve a contract modification to increase contract capacity with TJ Realty for general consultant services for capital construction and design development. In addition, an additional amount not to exceed $175,000, increasing the total contract from $223,600 to $398,600, again, subject to the availability of funding. And I do want to say that there was a change in scope, as Commissioner Silla pointed out, through some back and forth. We were able to scale on this. Our original ask was a lot more, but we were able to scale working with the department to the $175,000 ask. And so within the updated resolution, you will see the original scope that was included in the RFP, and then you will also see the adjusted scope, which also includes a reduction in hours as well as a change in some of the duties. And all of these duties, I want to just point out from a procurement and contracting standpoint, even though there's a change in scope, that modification of scope does not negate the original scope that was in the RFP, and it does not go against what was actually originally. So it's just expanding upon some of the broader term that may have been included in the original scope. So it still sticks with that same line of scope that was solicited in the RFP. And I will open the floor for questions regarding this resolution.
So before we proceed, I have a question for our general counsel.
Sure.
Since Commissioner Hamilton has chosen to abstain because she wasn't involved and is just seeing this material for the first time today. My understanding is we had 4 yes votes. So we need 5.
On the prior resolution?
Yeah, on the prior, yeah.
So on the prior resolution, we have 6 board members, correct me when I'm wrong here. Commissioner Reed is absent. Of that, 5 could vote because Commissioner Clay is not voting.
Right.
Yeah.
We need a majority of those present.
Of the 5 that can vote.
Either way you do it, 5 of the present, 5 again, we have 4. Do I right?
Okay, right, yeah. So
Either way,
yeah.
Either way, it does actually pass.
So,
Either we, yeah,
okay.
we have 4 voting yes. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Right, then 1
So
abstention.
4, if you count only who can go vote, that's still a majority.
Okay.
And then if we count it, everybody who's present is still a majority.
Okay.
So I'll recall the vote for the record, okay?
And redo it.
Mhm.
Okay.
And yes, so Chairman, do you want to recall for 2615?
So yeah, let's do that first. We're going to revote on resolution 26-15. The authorized increase in amendment number 54-2025.
Okay, so on the recall count, it is Commissioner Blackson.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Silla.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Hamilton. Abstain. Understand. Thank you. Chairman Skinner.
Yes.
That is 4 yeses. Out of the 5 that's present, the resolution passes.
All right. Thank you, Deputy General Counsel, for that clarification.
I received that packet, but I haven't been able to be briefed on any of these, so I don't.
Yes.
Okay. No problem.
Yeah, and greatly admire like your decision to like recognize you don't feel comfortable voting, so. Yes.
Okay, so we're now on resolution 26-16. This is the general consulting services with TJ Realtor. Questions?
Maybe just a comment, or can I offer support for the project? Yeah, I was very grateful to look at their scope of work, both their original and their modified scope of work. I believe the sorts of services that they are offering, whether it's the dashboards, performance measures, thinking strategically through, it's just very timely right now, given the shifts in the landscape that we are navigating and the kinds of trade-offs that Dan and his team have to manage for PMO in order to make units available. So I was just very grateful to see the scope of work and supportive. Yep.
And just to somewhat respond to former Commissioner Council's issue, it's clear that we have a budget issue, budget problem, but we got to get the work done, and we have to make hard choices. And this is a case where it's so important for us to get these units turned, and as the executive director was saying earlier, to get these units back online. So that's why, again, we have to make choices, and this, I think, is the right one in terms of adding funds to this contract so we can get this work done. So with that, if there are no other questions, I'll entertain a motion to approve resolution 26-16.
Motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second it, but can I ask a question?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I feel like I'm quibbling, but this is what I'm struggling with. That it is within the same scope of work. It seems to me it's the same activities that were in the original proposal, but for a longer period of time. And presumably the original scope of work said, we're going to get this amount of work done in this amount of time. So I don't mean to be too sort of in the weeds on this, but it seems to me that I guess I'm just quibbling with the notion that this is within the scope of work. What it seems to me is it's because the work is taking longer than we thought. It's maybe there's just a slightly different way to phrase it, that this work is taking longer than we originally anticipated. And I just would, in my mind, would rather not think about it being within the original scope of work. I don't know if that matters or if anybody wants to address that.
And so I'll attempt, because I know we asked these questions on the committee meeting. So I'm going to speak on behalf of Dan, so interject. So exactly that. It is taking a little bit longer. So it's the matter of walking some of the units, right? Helping with the scope, helping the team with some of the dashboards. So it's some of the same items. So it's really a modification and increased timing to finish a project up. And so that's how we'll look at that.
That's helpful. Thank you. That makes more sense. Thank you. I'm good.
Commissioner, do you need the clarification in the resolution, or is it okay as?
No, I think that oral explanation is helpful. Yeah, that's great. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded for resolution 26-16. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll have a roll call vote.
Okay, Commissioner Silla?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Blackson?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Hamilton? Understand? Abstain? I just want to make sure it's on the record when you say it louder.
Say it loud. Yeah, say it loud. I was going to say, there's a microphone right here. You got to say it for the record.
And Chairman Skinner?
Yes.
That's 4. The resolution passes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then final resolution today is resolution 26-17, which is one of our favorite topics.
He's coming back.
The admin. And this is the 12th emergency. I think
No, don't even.
No,
don't.
Do not put that out there.
Andrea Powell, Deputy General Counsel. We are pleased to request approval today of the admin plan as final. So in March, this board approved the final regs for that publication We published them with the DC Register for an additional 30 days. The previous version in March is one that had all the comments on our website. We received no additional comments when it was published in the Register. So this resolution would approve the final, and it would go into the Register and DC Register as the final admin plan, and we're done
For now.
unless we make other changes, but it would be the final. And I know Anton and his group and everybody, and you all were very excited, and interim director.
Okay, so I know I got a couple inquiries about sort of getting on a regular time schedule for updating and making changes to the admin plan. So what is the plan for that?
Amy and I spoke, and we also talked about it in a committee meeting. We would look to, the regular cadence would probably be something like aligning it with the MTW plan. So every year we have to submit our annual plan to HUD, in July. And so to the extent there are changes that we need to incorporate from the admin or ACOP, it would make sense to do that all around at the same time. So that was what we would be looking to sort of align it. So it wouldn't be ACOP and admin plan and then MTW, but you need some authority, in your admin
Right.
plan. So we would try to do all those things together.
But just to, because of our budget situation, my understanding is we may need to come back to this sooner.
Yes.
Before
different
that.
For specific things we may, and we always, like if there's a change in the law that requires us to do something in our admin plan, we don't wait.
Yeah.
We do that right away. But this is the wholesale look.
I just wouldn't want if the public is watching in and we have to come back to this in another month or two, I don't want them to say, wait a minute, they just said in June they weren't going to do it for a period of time. We may have to come back. soon.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We are seeking your board approval for this final admin plan.
Okay, so can we get a motion to approve resolution 26-17 to authorize approval and publication of the DCHA's administrative plan?
Motion.
Second,
Second.
any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a roll call.
How quickly can we get through this?
Commissioner Hamilton,
Same. I look forward to reading the plan.
thank you. That's thing. Thank you. Commissioner Murphy?
Yeah.
Thank you. Commissioner Sella?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Blackson?
Yes.
Thank you. And Chairman Skinner.
Yes.
The resolution is approved.
Okay, great. So Commissioner Silla, you can continue with your operations committee report.
Yes. Otherwise, just in terms of the focus area for the discussion, we really honed in on resident concerns that were uplifted at the block by block to make sure that we understood the concerns and that we were talking to all of the VPs to ensure that, we're addressing their concerns. So there was a focus on public safety concerns and calls for walking around the property, understanding the visibility and plan for hiring, retaining, incentivizing police officers to stay on the force, especially once they've gone through the training process and they've been sworn in with us. The importance of an anonymous tip line, including the fact that it had been established and the number of tips that had been logged was a part of the report out that we got. We also heard about questions, concerns related to supplies and whether those are readily available on the properties. We were grateful to get clarification and guidance from the executive director and also a better understanding from the PMO team about their current operations and how it is that they're responding to this issue, just in terms of making sure they're monitoring and supervising and working through any logistical connections and supply related challenges. We talked about some seasonal transitions, especially concerns about filters. And I, again, related to walking around the property, there's also a call for the property managers to be doing that and the area supervisors to support. We were very grateful on my end, and I think also on Commissioner Blackson's end, to hear about how the entire team that's supporting a particular property is actually mobilized to do the walkarounds. It's not just the property managers, and how the area supervisors are supporting in ensuring that we are doing that. So this is a flavor of the sorts of things that we talked about. We did not get to a number of issues, and one of them relate to a feedback that we've gotten today at the board meeting. So we had previously confirmed that a future presentation would focus on HCBP relationships with landlords. There was that one example of a neighboring tenant that was creating challenges. We've heard from landlords about tenants that are creating challenges in their unit as well. And so we'll be circling back to like better understand that context and that situation. Also recognize that some of our most vulnerable, when I say our, I mean in homeless services, some of our most vulnerable residents are connected to the vouchers and might be a part of the dynamic with takeovers of unit that was described on the call. So we'll be really focusing in on that at the next meeting. So I just wanted to make sure people understood. We hear you. We drive our committee deliberations and meetings and discussions to make sure that the issues that you are uplifting to us are addressed and that there are systems in place. And if they aren't, working towards making sure that they are. So that's it for me.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Silla. So let me turn to the Capital Projects Committee report.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. One thing I wanted to flag, because there's one item that's particularly relevant to our committee, is the council adopting the FY27 budget, which has passed first reading yesterday. So we know it will have to undergo a second reading. So everything I say now is somewhat could potentially
Alternatives, right?
It's tentative, exactly. But it does look like the council has set aside some money in the budget to restore the security deposit program, the initiative that we were running for some time and unfortunately had to put a pause on. So that's, I think, really good news and want people to know that. It looks like there's also some modest additional vouchers. We're still kind of looking for it to come into focus, which types of vouchers will be created by that funding. But the third issue is really worth highlighting for folks, which is the deferral of capital dollars. And so the committee spent a fair amount of time going over this and looking what the council was poised to do. We had, I believe we had thought that there was 70-some million dollars in capital funding over the various past fiscal years. And I would say the team was spending the money at a pretty good pace because as we all know, you don't just instantly spend capital dollars. So it was going pretty well. And we had a number of projects set aside or designated rather for that funding. The council has come in and deferred 56 of that 73 million, which is significant, right? And I think the money left over that left us with a little bit less than 17 million. And we know that we have projects in the pipeline for $15 million of that. So what that means is that we're going to be almost out of capital dollars until we get to the new fiscal year. And then we'll have a bit less available. So we have asked the team who had been operating under the assumption that there were going to be $73 million available. We've asked them to come back to the committee and sort of give us a new sense of prioritization of projects and what they're thinking so that we have a bit more transparency around what projects we'll be able to pursue. And this, hopefully won't be too much of a delay on projects, but it could. And we want to be open about that. We want people to understand what's going on and why that is. So
Commissioner Murphy, so make sure I understand. So for FY27, we'll have 16 million available?
No, sorry. We had, let me try to do this, and then if I get it wrong, the team can step in and correct me. If you add up the unobligated capital dollars for the last couple years, there were smaller numbers for like FY 23, FY 24. They were pretty small, but when you add up 23, 24, 25, 26, it added up to $73 million. Of that 73, 56 million was swept and deferred to what we think is going to be FY 27 and 28, split apart into some of it will be 27 and 28. So that left us in fiscal year 26, the current fiscal year, that left us with just 17 million.
Okay.
So that's, the good news is we have to get to September 30th. So it's not a huge amount of time, but we have $15 million of projects already slated for that. So that's
So
basically.
that's the difference, the 2 million difference,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Okay.
And, one HVAC system failing could change that. We do think there's some federal capital dollars that we could access in a pinch, but it's significant. It's definitely less flexibility than we had. So we are going to be working with the staff to understand how this is going to impact the plan for moving forward. And we do appreciate the council looking to give us those dollars back in the coming years and not using it as a substitution for what they would have given us anyway, right? Because we know that the condition of our facilities is going to require those kinds of fixes. So I just want to make sure that we're drawing attention to that and it doesn't surprise anyone down the road. We spent some time on that. Second thing, we spent some time in our capital project committee talking about the urgent needs campaign and good progress. That the work is now done. At, I think, Columbia, Syfax Gardens, Lincoln Road, James Creek, Sibley, and Kenilworth, with good progress going on at Langston Terrace, Horizon, and Kelly Miller. So good to see that work continuing, and that is where some of those capital dollars are being spent. We also spent a fair amount of time about the IRB projects, and I think this is also kind of worth mentioning. As we know, there are 18 projects set aside for the up to 18 projects set aside for that $700 million in IRB funding. As certainly as we know, as time goes on, construction gets expensive, makes things more expensive. Inflation is happening. And so we are now having to really model out what those projects, once they are renovated, will allow, what kind of debt service that will allow. And not surprisingly, it seems that 700 million may not cover 18, as it made sense when we originally modeled it out. So we have really asked the team to try to figure ways that we can sort of value engineer things, that we can get to as many of the 18 projects as possible. Because I don't think we want to do 10 projects at top level if we can find a way to get to more projects at a perfectly reasonable level. So those are some decisions we're going to have to make going forward. But I'm anticipating that there will be some folks at properties in the second batch being really disappointed, and I want to do everything we can at the outset of this project at this moment to not disappoint them. So the committees, we'll need to continue to talk to the team about that. And then good projects, the director mentioned some of the good projects, the 9 IRB capital projects. The Edmondson project is terrific. We know that's going to be looking like it'll deliver in December. Henson Ridge in September, the Henson Ridge #1, which I think was one of the early projects we as our board approved. So good to see that come into finality. And then obviously the groundbreaking of the Flats project. So even for some of the non-IRB projects, there's good progress. I just want to appreciate the team. Good stuff. That is a quick summary of what we talked about.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. Okay, so let's move on to the Resident Services Committee, which is chaired by Commissioner Blackson.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Thanks, Commissioner Silla, for sharing some of the details that happened in the Operations Committee meeting. It all falls back to the block by block, which comes under the Committee on Resident Services. At our last meeting, we had different concerns from residents regarding dogs, asked about the voucher process, bed bugs, and just sharing their different concerns on how does those things work. And we had presentations from, let me share. Director Shaw, he provided a comprehensive overview of the Housing Choice Voucher Program. He answered a lot of questions and explained the roles of the HCVP team, the responsibility, and the steps involved with the voucher process. Because one of those questions came out of the committee meeting on how does the Housing Choice Voucher work. Another one of the questions were, what steps should residents take when dealing with bed bugs? What are the policies and responsibilities related to pet ownership and dogs? And this goes back to the block by block, which we had presentations on those actual questions. Carolyn Punter, the senior VP, she delivered a DCHA pet policy summary and pet registration requirements, also giving the resident leaders documents that they can share with their community, take back to their community, and share with residents. We had a presentation on zero income household recertification requirements provided by VP Thompson and the pertinent guidance for the resident leaders. We also had a follow-up because this question comes up sometime, like, what is my role, from resident leaders, like new leaders, so they can understand their role. And we had a presentation from Fashad Tyler from Office of Resident Services with the roles and responsibility as it relates to resident leaders. Now, more importantly, the residents shared positive feedback regarding the block by block initiative. One resident leader expressed this appreciation for the actual initiative and stated that it was greatly needed within the community. You know, feedback like this reinforces the importance of creating these spaces of resident engagement. So that's what the Committee on Resident Services is all about. We remain committed to strengthening residents' engagement, increasing the transparency between residents and DCHA staff, ensuring residents have access to information and resources that they thrive. This brings me to another initiative, well, this same initiative, but another piece of it. Um, and let me go to that piece, which in the past I've hosted the 7 commissioner chat and choose. You know, we hear residents speak at the board meeting about not being able to get in touch with the board directly, not meeting with them directly, not meeting with the DCHA staff directly. I hosted 7 commissioner chat and choose with email blasts working with the director of HCVP, Mr. Shaw. An email blast went out to all our HCVP residents that shared that this chat and choose would take place. Commissioner Silla assisted me on some of those chat and choose, as well as DCHA staff. And we received positive feedback and was able to address and assist residents with those concerns they had during the chat and choose. At this present time brings me to year to date as I continue my role as a commissioner, reappointed commissioner. I'm launching commissioner pop-ups, and in collaboration with Office of Resident Services, PMO, Director of Maintenance, Public Safety, the Executive Director, we had a very good meeting with the residents of Lincoln Heights this past Friday. It was a success. Residents openly shared their concerns and experiences. Several issues were able to be addressed on the spot. Other concerns required additional follow-up. And, you know, I have had residents actually reach out to me this past weekend and sharing that experience and thank me for coming out to their property. So, you know, we want to continue these engagement process with the resident committee on resident services. And I'm sorry, my sugar dropped a little bit, so I'm a little jittery if I sound like I'm trying to talk fast. The next commissioner pop-up is at Kentucky Courts on June 25th. And I look forward to, you know, keeping these conversations and engagements with residents. I do a whole lot. I know I don't always share a whole lot, but residents that know me, they know Commissioner Blacks and they know the name. They know I'm here to engage and I hear you. I hear you all the times. You know, I want to be clear that we are here for you and improve the services and strengthen communication across the board. So if you need me, reach out to me, 202-250-4451. I appreciate the DCHA staff for going out with me to these pop-ups and for engaging with the community and resident leaders. I had the pleasure of having the support of the Citywide Advisory Board, VP Misha Petway, at the recent pop-up shop at Lincoln Heights. And I look forward to everybody's continued support. And residents, please feel free to reach out to me if you need me. And I thank my fellow board members, and they too will be joining some of these pop-ups. So I look forward to it. And the next Block by Block is next week on June 18th, where we will hear from leaders, again, sharing their concerns and questions. As you heard Commissioner Siller share some of the concerns that we hear in the operations committee meeting that comes from the Block by Block. So I look forward to it, and I thank you all for hearing me.
We thank you, Commissioner Blackson, for all that you do for the residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so last but not least, the Committee on Budget and Finance Audits, and Commissioner Reed, who chairs that committee, is not here. So I'm looking at Commissioner Clay.
Sure. I was unfortunately not able to make the beginning of the meeting, but I can kind of speak broadly to what the discussion was. We reviewed what are, I guess at this point, we haven't gotten the final OIG audit, but we reviewed kind of the preliminary findings that we're aware of, and the OFM laid out for us kind of a timeline to address those findings and to address all of those issues. It was a good meeting. They talked about their plan to kind of get that done. We are certainly very much pushing to make sure that we can address those issues that came out of those findings. And the OFM, our interim executive director, the head of OAC, the interim head of OAC, all are very committed to working through those issues. That was the bulk of the discussion, but then we also did have a little bit more discussion, as interim executive director Wycliffe kind of noted earlier, looking at where we are financially and having kind of a preliminary discussion about how we address some of those challenges that we're dealing with. So we had some conversation on that as well. I think in the next couple of months, we'll be talking a little bit more about that.
So did you get a chance to talk about the audit, the OIG audit, which I guess should be released?
Yes, but I don't think
momentarily, right?
Yeah, it should be released soon. So yes, that's what I was speaking of in terms of we looked at the preliminary, what we know is to be, or what we're expecting to be the findings. And we had discussion. We went through each one of those findings to have a discussion on what the timeline looks like on addressing those issues and what the plan is to get through.
And I mean, I would just add, I think as we've been sort of talking about for months now, without getting into specific numbers of which findings are resolved and which aren't, it is pretty much what we expected, that there will be a number of findings addressed and there will be some that are open.
Exactly.
We've never had an expectation that that we would get to zero at this point. We just knew
those are the findings from the FY 24.
Exactly.
Yeah, there's still some that are, I guess I'll use the term, carried over.
Yes.
And it did some consolidation.
Exactly. So it's a little bit hard to do one to one to one.
To follow from the 24 to the 25, right?
And we were really, it was important to us to hear from the staff about what their plan was and what the not most importantly, but also importantly, what their timeline was to be able to address those, because we want to have confidence that, that we're going to be able to hit these milestones.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Clay.
Thank you.
Okay, so that wraps up all of our committee reports. And again, I'd like to thank particularly the committee chairs, but all of the commissioners for their participation on these committees. It's important, and that's really how we get the work done. And the committees then lift up to the full board and resolve issues and get policies in place like the admin plan. Okay, so next on the agenda is what we call Commissioner Time and Commissioner Hamilton. At the end of the meeting, We started doing this a few months ago, just going around and having commissioners just bring up anything that's on their mind and within reason. That's related to DHCA, DCHA.
Denise, this Denise, Commissioner Blackson. I wanted to give a shout out again to Director Shaw for the email that we received about the landlord town hall. Him and his team with an
Yes.
extended shout out to Miss Pompey, Mr. Sistrunk, and Miss Della Rosa. They were cited as doing a great presentation on the landlord town hall, and I just want to shout them out again and keep up the great work. I also wanted to recognize DCHA staff and the Office of Resident Services. I had the opportunity to go past the 2026 home fair. Um, the line was out the door over at Martha's Table with Manna and Martha's Table. I mean, there was a lot of residents. It was a lot of people there. It was a really nice event. It was well attended. A lot of vendors from banks and real estate agents. And they did a great job. The DCHA staff was outside greeting the residents, directing traffic at the table, signing people in. You just could see the atmosphere was pleasant. They had their breakout sessions and breakout rooms with the different workshops for home ownership. And I just wanted to recognize them, in the resident engagement. I was glad to be a part of it and happy to be there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Blacks. Anyone else? Commissioner Clay.
I just want to take a moment to recognize our interim executive director. Last week, and I attended the third of a group of meetings for Housing Unity DC, which is a group of developers and leadership across the district to talk about how do we kind of tackle our affordable housing crisis. And our interim executive director was presented. And I'll just say, just in general, even the feedback that we heard today, she has, it's like she's everywhere. Working on issues, and she's been doing great work. So just want to recognize you.
Anyone else? Okay, well, I also want to recognize our interim executive director.
All is well.
No, as Commissioner Clay just said, it seems like she is everywhere. My interactions with her in these past 60 days have just been great. I mean, she's doing a really good job. She has a grasp on all the issues, and she's moving forward, making recommendations on how we can resolve things. And she's in constant communications with me as the chair of the board, including late at night and weekends. But that's what it takes to get the job done. So I just want to say that we really appreciate what you're doing, Nicole. So.
Thank you, you all as well. I really appreciate it. Taking my calls, my emails, and just being there with me as well.
Okay. Anything else? If not, then the next Board of Commissioners meeting will be held on Wednesday, July 8th. And as we mentioned at the last meeting, we're going to start taking this show on the road, going around to different properties. So our July meeting is going to be held at the Envision Center, which is at Greenleaf, and the exact address is 203 N Street Southwest. So you will be able to come in person to that meeting so we can have testimony in person or virtually. And so again, this will be the first of our taking our board meetings on the road. And I guess this is the first time we will be doing in-person board meetings since COVID. Wow. I mean, I've been on the board for what's almost 4 years now. We've always had the meetings here in the department. So this is our going back to the way we used to do it, which was a good way. Right? So looking forward to seeing you all at the Envision Center next month on July the 8th. And detailed information regarding either viewing it or participating in the meeting live will be on our website at dchousing.org.
Can I ask you, will we also be able to stream that meeting for?
Yes.
Okay, so it'll be both. Great.
It'll be both.
I know the technology gets tricky when we're offsite.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you all for being so welcoming. Good for
Really
me.
glad to have.
Okay.
Welcome, Rhonda.
So if there's no other business, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. The meeting is adjourned at 3:02 p.m.
Thank you.